All right, folks, time for final thoughts from some of our Is School Choice the Black Choice panelists and me.
Well, I think it's been a great conversation. I think what we got to focus on is there's good practice and there's bad practice. There's good teaching, there's good school leadership, there's good stewardship where schools should be part of their broader communities, and we got to support that wherever we find it. We see that in the public charter sector, we support it. We see that in the traditional public schools, support it. What I believe is that the entity that ought to make those decisions in the context of an individual child about traditional public charters should be that parent, not government authorities. But I do think we need to leave this room united around supporting one another, collaborating on good practice.
Rudy.
We've had a couple, 3 decades worth of supply side education. Most of it has been around money, around who gets it, who doesn't get it, and what portion of it do charters get versus public schools get or other public schools get. I suggest that we flip this conversation to a demand side conversation and ask the question, what would it take for us to create schools that everybody in the Black community or in any community would demand to go to?
All right.
First, let me say that we have to get rid of the excuses. Regardless of whether it's a public school or whether it's a charter school, we have to set the same high standards. We have to pay teachers a fair day's wage for a hard day's work. We've got to make sure our children get the kind of resources they need, and we've got to stop hiding behind the excuse of teachers' unions, quite frankly.
Thank you.
Let me say this.
Say it again.
We've watched how these things work, and those who seem to be most in opposition to teachers' unions are those that simply don't want to pay their teachers a fair day's wage and give them the support they deserve to do a great job for our children. So all of that to say, same standards, same area. We want the same level of accountability. We've got to hold everyone accountable for what they do, regardless whether you want to call it a charter school, a school voucher, or a public school.
All right. Ramona?
We know a great deal more about how to help children succeed than we do. And what I'm interested in is sharing of best practices, not having one side say, we don't need to know how that successful charter school did it, we'll be all right in 5 years or more, but share best practices, learn, collaborate, and really put into practice what we know. As African American people, we can do a lot more for our children than we've been doing.
Catherine.
Remember that parents have the primary responsibility for making sure that their children are educated, and they should have a choice as to where they get that done.
All right, then. Final comment is this here. One of the greatest books out there is James D. Anderson's book, The Education of Blacks in the South, 1860 to 1935. And what's very interesting about that particular book, it shows that African Americans were the ones who forced states in the South to actually publicly finance education. When those schools were shut down, you know what black folks did? Those freed slaves, they started their own schools. The reality is this here, school choice started with black folks. And so we've always had to demand better educational options. I said it during this forum, and I'm very clear. Am I a supporter of school choice? Yes. I went to all public schools. Clinton Park Elementary School, Pleasantville Vanguard, William Howard Middle School, Jack Case High School, Texas A&M University. I'm very clear. I support traditional public schools, charter schools, magnet, voucher, home, online. I do not care how we educate our children. I have one simple standard. Does it work? I'm not interested in contracts. I'm not interested in drama. I'm not interested in all these fights. All I care about is whether or not black kids are going to have a future. And the bottom line is this here. If you're in the way of black kids getting education, I suggest you get the hell out of the way, because we are going to run you over and make it clear that our kids deserve a shot for the American dream.
Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. NewsOne Now with Roland Martin, every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.